Hey there, everyone. Sorry, looks like we had a live session breakdown, so we're just going to do this one all over again. First off, got to start with the trade war. It seems to be front and center these days. Looks like China sent an olive branch, I don't know, yesterday evening, at least our time, probably yesterday, their daytime. So we're saying, let's get back to the table, let's be calm, let's negotiate, let's work something out that's good for both of us. I think this is a nice sign of hope and hopefully strength from both parties that they just say, "Yep, let's get back to the table and hammer something out." I don't know how long it would take to get something like that done. I do suspect it's more difficult than all of us might think, given all the intricacies involved in the two largest economies. I also expect there to be some political will to have this resolved kind of middle of next year. We obviously know there's an election cycle out there, and to see that this could not be used as a tool in it would be naive, I would think. I would obviously like it to get done sooner rather than later, because again, as a real estate investor, I'm tracking consumer confidence, unemployment, this whole fear and greed thing with the American consumer and the American investor, right? That's why I do what I do, right? I'm trying to figure out where the trend is going. So I see this as good news. I do not expect anything imminently. I'd be happy if there were. I think the market would explode higher if there was something signed in the next 30 days. I just don't expect it. Next up, looks like Bank of America was the first bank stock downgraded. Again, not a stock person, never claimed to be a stock person. Don't ever take stock advice from me. What I'm tracking here is why they were downgraded. They were downgraded because of the inverted yield curve and the Fed rate cut and potential for more, right? Those are going to impact Bank of America's profits because they are in a fractional lending environment, and it's going to be harder for them to make profits. So if that's true, it goes back to what I've said many times is I expect lending to get easier, right? In a lending environment such as Bank of America where they can't make as much profit as they used to, there's only a couple of options you have. And one of them that's easiest is you change your lending criteria to involve a bigger pool of applicants. And I think that's what's going to happen. Hi, morning, C. I'm not, yeah, C. Despro. How you doing? So I think that's going to happen, and I think that's going to be net positive, right? If we have lower rates going forward, let's say going forward for the next 18 months, and an easier lending environment, I think this is going to be good for investors. I know I will be taking advantage of that, which will be really cool. So I think banks will be hungry for more loans, and to get that, they are going to be more aggressive, and I look forward to that. Just staying on the bank stock, something else I saw, which I thought was interesting. Still, hey Troy, still waiting for the crash, but it keeps going up. Yeah, I don't. I think Troy, you're talking about the crash of real estate, and I don't think there's going to be a crash per se. There'll be a slowdown and a dip, and I think the crash is already happening in the high end. The video yesterday talked about 3-year supply in some, the Hamptons and the Aspens and things like that. So there are properties going for millions of dollars less than asking. I just think the crash per se is going to happen at the higher end, right? The place that's unaffordable. I think the market that you and I are in, below the median, all of that, we can't get around the supply demand hiccups. There's just not enough of them to cause a crash, and most of the stuff out there has low rate, fixed rate debt at 4 or 5%. So nobody's going to be hurting, I don't think, or at least not hurting in mass. So I think we have to watch what we expect when we use the word crash. Right, 2007, 8, 9, that was a crash, right? That was a depression. I don't see that coming, but I could be wrong. Who knows? The thing I was going to with the banks is I just saw Citigroup raise their minimum wage to 15 and Bank of America to $20 an hour and $15 an hour. That's interesting. I don't really know what that's a sign of to come. I suspect if you work at Bank of America, in Silicon Valley versus Bank of America in the central of the U.S., $20 goes a lot farther in one of those areas than the other. So maybe it helps some parts of the country. I'm not sure it really helps the Bay Area. So I just thought that was interesting. This one is interesting. This next point's interesting because I think it's it could be a real sign of a change in our employment structure. So it looks like Panera, right? Panera Bread, a little fast food chain. They have over 100% turnover in a year, right? Think about that, right? If you're training a whole new staff at your stores every year, I don't know, what does it take? 90 days at least to train someone? That's ridiculously expensive, I have to imagine. And also shows you why McDonald's is spending a billion with a B on these kiosks that you're probably seeing in more and more McDonald's. It's because rising turnover is so expensive. And where I'm going with this as a real estate investor is, fast food was my first job when I was 13. At least my first job with taxes taken out, right? I was paid under the table for work before that. So if the first rung of the employment ladder is taken out, I just wonder what that means long term, right? Maybe this doesn't affect, me, the old guy, but if you have a child that's maybe 3 or 4 today, what happens in 10 years or a decade when they're looking for their first job? I just don't know what this means. If I don't know, 70% of what used to be fast food jobs are now done by computers or robots, and then there's, I don't know, 3 or 4 technicians running around, doing exceptions. I just don't know what this means. And if fast foods do take over or robots take over the fast food industry, I just wonder what happens to our employment structure if that first rung of the employment ladder is taken out. Where do you go? What do you do? Do you just mow lawns and paint fences? I don't know. So it's something I'll be tracking going forward. It's just one of those other things that can impact consumers, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but there was a company that bought Lord and Taylor for just under $100 million. I've never shopped there. I'm not even sure what Lord and Taylor is. But what was interesting is the company that bought them highlighted low interest rates as a reason for doing the deal. And I think that's going to be a sign of things to come. Low interest rates are supposed to promote business activity, borrowing. And if low rate, so it's interesting to see that was out there. And then the final thing I identified was it looks like weekly unemployment came out. Some people may highlight it as, the trend is reversed or whatever. But it looks like unemployment applications were up 4,000 week on week to a total of 215. So too early to tell if this is a trend. Could be a one week hiccup. Who knows? But all in all, today was an exciting day. Right, the trade war looks like we have a chance for a calm resolution as we go forward. The banks look like they may need to get more aggressive, which I like as a real estate investor. Be interesting to see what happens to fast food joints as the age of kiosks and robots increase going forward. And of course, low rates will spark acquisition. So all in all, it's a fun day to read about, and I look forward to see what tomorrow brings. Have a great day. Take care.